good read. I've been so focused in on this, I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really like that book. But I'm gonna tell you, just this morning, I just subscribed to the New Yorker.
Okay.
I'm like sitting up there thinking to myself, like, what? I used to subscribe to another, I'm trying to think of what the name of it was named after a president or something, but it was really like a dense kind of read, and you had to, it was articles, you had to read the doggone thing. So I have been for some reason I have been doing this full immersion into James Baldwin.
Yeah, you've been mentioned that.
Yeah, and so they keep talking about these articles that he put in the New Yorker. And so like, you know what, I'm sick of this thing just, trying to tell me I need to subscribe just to see excerpts. And so let me just subscribe. And so I subscribed to the New Yorker, and I don't know how I feel about all that. Just like, oh, I should have just done the digital version. Because I hate having magazines come to my house.
Oh, you guys, so it comes to the house.
Yeah, I don't like that. It just seems like more stuff that I gotta
Yeah, it
accumulate
is.
and then have a resistance to throwing away because I'm always gonna get back to it.
Right,
So
right.
then you start having piles of magazines, and I don't.
I used to think that was what vacation was for, to catch up
Mm-mm.
my magazines.
I need more vacations then.
That's the point. Like, I gotta take a vacation because I need to catch up on all these magazines.
Well, I used to just put them in, I bought this you know how you had those toilet paper racks.
Magazine racks.
Yeah, well, so the toilet paper goes up here, and then it's got a little magazine holder down at the bottom so that you can. But living by yourself, it's not even like you close the bathroom door all the time.
Exactly.
So it's kind of like you don't have the same kind of a bathroom experience when you have a house full of people. So I don't go in there and read. I don't go in the bathroom and read.
Yeah, me either.
Yeah.
There used to be a season though. Huh.
Yeah, when I had people in the house that I was trying to escape from, that was when I sat in the bathroom and read. You just wanted peace and quiet.
Right. Yeah.
Yourself or be by yourself or something. Like you go in the bathroom. That's look, for those of you who may be watching this in another space and time, that's how the poor folks did it. We would have a house full of people, and the only place you could find some peace and quiet and solitude was in the bathroom.
Or moms with 4 or 5 little kids that are running around, and the only place you can go is a 10-minute break in the bathroom.
Yeah, and then you don't want to come out. My sister-in-law used to always like shock her when my brother and my sister-in-law, when they first got married, they lived downstairs in the house downstairs. And when I would go in the basement, she would just be standing there, like, how you do laundry and then you go into, and she'd just be standing there and it's like, oh, this is her quiet spot, right? It's always like, boo. Anyway.
Yes. So yeah, I'm happy. I'm really happy. I slept well as I could sleep. My parents got to where they needed to go safely, so that was yummy for me. And yeah, I got the kale out the garden yesterday. So I was working on that this morning. I made some chips, and I think I must leave some to like saute. I love sauteed kale and onions. So I'll probably do that today and go to Whole Foods and get me some salmon and enjoy my day.
I just picked up some salmon yesterday too.
Did you?
Yeah.
I'm feeling that.
I went to Yeah, I went to Whole Foods the other day, and for some reason I wasn't really feeling their selection that they had out. And so I went in Heinen's and
Mm.
grabbed me a piece of salmon,
Love salmon from
yeah,
Heinz.
good piece. And yeah, so and I've been on this thing for baked potatoes lately. And my chives are out there, they are like ready to bloom. And so I get these baked potatoes and I throw all these chives in there and then some sour cream, and it's like good, good. So I know. Let me stop. So good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning. We're all in our places with bright, shiny faces, and this is the way we start our new day.
It is the truth.
I only went outside for a minute and just breathed in and just felt the breeze, and yeah, it's going to be a good day.
It is.
Yes.
Yeah, it already has started. My sister called me. I was still asleep at 5:22. And she was like, Are you still asleep?
Don't you hate that when people catch you asleep? Yeah.
I said I am, but I am not now.
Mm.
She was like, I just knew you would be awake. I just wanted to talk. And I was like, okay, just give me a second. Let me just sit up for a minute.
Okay.
So she helped me start my little day today.
Okay. Oh, it's supposed to be cloudy most of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So this is not the weather report. We are just kind of like gathering our thoughts here. And so yesterday I came in and I took a nap real quick. And during the
Good for
time that I took
you.
a nap, it was so weird because I took a nap, and when I woke up, I went in the kitchen to get my phone,
Mm-hmm.
and my brother had not only called, but he had come by. He said he was down there banging on the door. This was like in the span of a half an hour.
Wow.
So he came by, he called. I didn't hear either of those. Alan called. I didn't hear that. I was just, yesterday was like this barrage of stuff that happened in between that little time that I took the nap, and I missed all of it. So that meant I was getting some good, get some good sleep in. But and then I woke up and I've been meaning to watch a movie, but I have not. So whatever. It's all good. All right.
Another
So
thing I did yesterday too, is I watched television, which is not something that I typically do ever. But since I had the living room to myself, I did watch. I watched the Ram Dass documentary, which was so good. And what else? Oh, I watched the documentary on creativity
okay, where's Ram Dass's documentary? Is that new
on
or is this old?
Netflix.
Okay.
Going home.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a few of I watch his stuff and I went to see him one time. He was in Cleveland.
Did you?
Yeah.
Before he had his stroke or after?
No, I think he was in a wheelchair when he was.
Oh, so it was after he had his stroke. Okay.
Mhm.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what, here's one of the things. I had a conversation with Alan yesterday, and one of the things I said to him is sometimes we are in these rich pivotal moments that we don't even know or recognize at the time we're in them, that
Yes.
we're in them. and
Yes.
and so it's one of those things where you have those moments of hindsight or awareness, like, dang, like there's this thing of who you are when you're not prepared, and you want to think that who you are when you're prepared will be somehow different or better, but it's not always.
Mm.
In college, one of my favorite professors was Neil Holmes. And Neil Holmes was who I would say he calls himself a Pan-Africanist. And I actually looked him up not too long ago, probably about 6 months ago, and found him. He's living someplace else, and I forget where he's living, but I kind of reconnected with him. And in that reconnection, I was able to talk about the richness that he brought to my life, right? And so at the time, I was active at the school, and Neil Holmes was a Pan-Africanist, and he introduced me to Kwame Nkrumah, who at the time was, when they told me his name, well, his name was Stokely Carmichael, but now they call him Kwame Nkrumah. And I think that we rode in a car together. It was 4 of us, and we went all the way to Detroit and back, right? So you know what that's like, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but because I knew the name but didn't have an awareness of who he was,
Right. Yeah.
my conversation was just like, we just bullshit, girl. I mean, I'm just like, I'm playing the dozens with him. I'm just, I'm having fun because I didn't have a concept. But then it's like after, so I studied in Italy. Alan had studied in Paris, and he was talking about he had an opportunity to meet James Baldwin. And that's one of the things that I keep saying is that when you're in that moment, you don't always know that it's
right.
Sometimes I'd be like telling God, can you give me a heads up?
Heads up, right?
When I'm supposed to, bring my A game, or, when it's one of those moments. And I've had some of those moments where I have been just in a space, and sometimes it's like you only know it in hindsight.
Yeah.
You only know it in hindsight. So
yeah.
When you're talking when you're entertaining or talking to somebody, it's just one of those things. And so some people will be like, oh, I met so-and-so, or I met them before, or in the midst of, or something like that. And so it's nice, I think, when you can have that awareness while you're there. But even if you don't, it's
there's magic in that too. Once you look back and at the conversation, you look at how you were, you look at the person's response. When you think back of the response, I don't know, I think it's beautiful either way.
Yeah.
But yeah.
My cousin was telling me, she was like, he probably appreciated that you
I was thinking that
for him with a whole bunch of questions and heady stuff.
I literally, that was my thought before I said what I said. I was like, oh my God, he probably just appreciated the innocence of you being in the presence, because it's so contrary to his other experiences.
Yes. But he was the one who said to me, when we were talking, and we were talking about, my name, and he was like, oh, like kind of making it seem like, oh, you still got your slave name kind of thing. He didn't say that, but he says, you know what? He says, I'm gonna think of you as Queen Nzinga. And I said, Nzinga? I've never even heard of a Queen Nzinga. And he said, look it up. Like that. And went on about his business. I looked it up later, and she was a bad mother. But at the time, it was just like, oh, okay. Okay. So it's all good. It's all good. It's perfect. It's perfect.
It is perfect. What am I looking for? My coffee.
I'm sitting here sucking on mine, like, woo, I'm so appreciative of this coffee.
Calling on me.
I put mine in a different cup this morning because I was like, I wanted to stay warm because sometimes it just gets cold in the midst
It
of me
does.
talking.
I'm using my mama's glass and she's not here.
Oh, y'all have assigned cups.
Well, they always drink out of those big plastic, travel. They're truckers, so that feels like home to them.
Okay.
And I'm always using the little ceramics. And my mother's like, that is not enough coffee. How many times do you come to this pot with that little cup? And I just like ceramic because I don't like plastic on my mouth. And
Yeah.
so
I used to
so
be
when
like
she's not
that.
here, I just used her super grandma cup because I'm a super grandma. And because she has been using it, taking it with her over my cousins or whatever. So I just got a bigger cup today. So it makes it easier. So I won't have to go back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so let me do. Hey, why
I know she's been fussing all morning.
what? Come on. Do I need to fluff your pillow? I'm gonna turn it over because it looks like you. Okay. You want it? No? Girl, who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Okay, so come on. There you go. There you go. For her not to hear, it's like I think we communicate pretty well. That's
Mm-hmm.
just it's just funny to me how a deaf dog can be so, like this morning she came over to me like, hey, I'm ready to eat. And I'm like, it's 4:30, you don't need to eat. And she was like, she puts her paws up on me and she gives me this look like, I'm ready. I'm ready. So rather than just kind of trying to deal with her, I was just like, okay, let me just go ahead and feed her and get this out the way. And, so I can have some, yeah, and that'll make her go to sleep. So anyway, okay, so while we sitting here jaw jacking, yeah, I just have this, like this moment of even in this, I have these moments where I want to just be fully present in the moment and appreciate what's going on. And I think that is, for me, that's pretty like significant and major and all that good stuff. So
Yeah, that was the message that I got from, again, and of course it's an ongoing message, but from the Ram Dass documentary is that the importance or the value and the beauty of just being. I have a friend that is constantly saying, just be, Stephanie, can you just be?
mm,
So that message from that documentary was the same because life is going to do what it's going to
yeah, yeah.
do.
And it's funny because sometimes I think when I am in that space, I was asking myself, am I a nihilist, right? Is this like saying like what's the use, and but I know that I am an optimist and that I have this, I'm living in the present. I'm appreciating the present because I think it's so wonderful and amazing. But there is also this optimism about what is to come. And there is a part of me that believes that I have the ability to create. I know that I have the ability to create my world as I desire. So then the question becomes, what is it that you desire?
That
Right?
is the question.
Right. And getting clear on that.
Clear. Yes. Yes.
So there is a portion of me that says, oh, I would love to just live and exist in a warm climate. But remember, we just had that conversation about the wonderfulness of the winter and what it allows the earth to do, have a reset moment. So whether it is keeping in check the bugs and all the stuff out there in the environment that can be overwhelming, that has too its place, right? So, you know, a lot of times we see these tropical destinations that people can go to and it looks so yummy. But you don't see whether or not people are sitting there constantly, you know,
Like
fighting
Florida,
off, yeah, fighting off these big giant sized
not
mosquitoes.
sea bugs.
Yeah, you know, or what the other pieces of that is, whether there's tarantulas running through the house, or you don't see all of that other stuff. And
Oh, that's so good.
yeah, and it's interesting too how, you know, you can read some stuff, and one of the reasons why people always, I don't even want to say employed, but why it was so important for people to have slave labor is because there was so much that they didn't want to have to deal with. And so they had, I was listening to somebody who was talking about, was it Virginia Woolf, that was talking about she didn't cook and she didn't know how to cook, and so she had to have live-in help so that she could always have what she wanted to eat, until of course she finally learned how to cook, and then she was able to get the cook out of the house, but she still had people living on her property that took care of other stuff. They just didn't have to be in her personal space.
Hmm.
And so when you think about or read about people who have who create around them a structure to deal with that stuff that they don't want to deal with. I know I can't have somebody come and chasing away my mosquitoes, but like my cousin that lives in Florida, when you go to her house, you walk into the front door, and then it seems like their whole backyard is under a net. So you're sitting there up under this big net that encloses the
Yeah.
swimming pool and a couple of plants and stuff, and all of the rest is out there. Like you're looking like, okay, we're living in a dome here. Just
That's it.
like, okay, do what
Because
you got.
otherwise, you can't sit out there.
Right,
You
right.
know, I was when you said that, I thought about, yeah, every time I go to Florida, I never come back home and talk about all the geckos that are coming in the door when you come in the door.
Oh my God.
Same time, they're just like everywhere. Unless you close the door fast, they just and they're so fast.
I had one in the shower with me. I look down, I'm taking a shower and I'm looking down, and it's like, oh, what are you doing in here?
So you don't think about those things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
okay. So, anyway.
So you're still an optimist.
Mhm. Okay, so let's do this. And are you working right now?
I am.
Okay. Okay.
And you
Cool.
hear my clicking? I'm always worried about that.
I can't hear your clicking.
Okay.
It was funny because Rhonda was talking about, I think yesterday, because I only tune in for a second. Well, I love, and I have gotten so much out of doing the 5 a.m. group.
Mm-hmm.
There is a part of me that sometimes I don't want to wake up in the morning and talk about or think about politics.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
just, I'm not interested in
Yeah.
hearing that first thing in the morning.
So you just kind of check in and then.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So that's why I don't necessarily tune in for the whole time. I'm just kind of like in and out. But and I don't even know why I brought that up. I was trying to say something about it.
It's about me working.
Oh, she was talking about how her keyboard, the sound of her keyboard and her typing was like music, and so she just wanted to hear herself go faster and keep typing, and that kind of thing just kind of lulled her into productivity. and which is a wonderful thing. I like to hear her keyboard, when she's typing 5 a.m.
Right.
Yeah,
5 a.m. Yeah.
yeah, it's
The
kind of
numbers.
nice.
It is really
And
cool.
it sounds like an old-fashioned typewriter. And mine doesn't sound like that to me. So we're going to finish out this level 2 today. That's the plan on the second chakra. And so over the last couple of days, we've been talking about this thing about union and partnership. But as we started out, did I pray already?
No.
Oh. Father, Mother God, we give thanks in this moment that the words spoken here are filled with your light, your love, and your wisdom of the highest. As we come into alignment with the divine consciousness that is all around us, we know that what we do, what we share here, meets the needs, and not only in our life, but of someone out there who may be listening or may tune in to this at any point in time. So we give thanks for this. We give thanks for this space, and we bless it. And so it is. Amen. Amen. All right. So almost miss that.
What do you think that would be about if you did?
I don't think it'd be about anything. I really don't. I guess
I think it's very centering.
Yeah, and I try to take, because sometimes I can rush through a prayer without necessarily centering myself in it. But I think that it just helps because for me, it sets my intent. Although the moment I cut on my computer and I sit down in my chair, I am intentional.
Right. Yeah.
I know that I have a purpose for this that I do, but I also know too that as I focus in, especially on the work that James Baldwin did, I think to myself is how can I be more impactful? Like I recognize that I reach a certain group of people, audience, certain demographic, but how can I enlarge this? Hey, Erica, good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, she says. Yeah, so how can I enlarge this, the forum, the conversation? What can I bring to this? How do I expand it? How do I, so that's kind of like in my awareness right now. My intent, and then I need to expose myself to something more, because what I recognize is that there are people out there that are the thought leaders, and I can try to engage in more conversation so that I can even up my game. Because I just think that, I think that the conversation needs we need to have a shift. And sometimes that's one of the beautiful things about James Baldwin, that James Baldwin's conversation was saying that I'm not letting you control the narrative of how I perceive. It said in one of his writings, or in because he met with was it Farad Muhammad or the Honorable Elijah Muhammad? He might have met with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and this was after he had a conversation with Malcolm X. I think they had an interview or some kind of conversation together, and it said that Elijah Muhammad invited him over for dinner, and he sat down for dinner with him. And it says that James Baldwin was kind of curious as to why he was invited to this dinner. You know, like, what is this? Does he think he's going to convert me to being Islam, or is there something else that he wants? And so he was really, when he walked into the conversation, really conscious about, why am I here? But then there was like this thing of, as he was sitting there at dinner, he was very aware of what was going on at the table. And he talked about the energy dynamic of somebody who has an entourage at the table with them. And that entourage serving as the amen section of the room, so that whatever Elijah Muhammad was saying got the amen, yeah, speak, and all of that stuff. You know how the call and response goes. And then it was, and so you already feel like you're on unequal footing, but he wasn't going to succumb to that, right? He wasn't going to let that be how he showed up, or he wasn't going to let that dictate how he showed up. But then it was interesting, because one of the things that it said that Elijah Muhammad liked about him is that he didn't come across as being, what is the word that they used? I'll try to figure out my own word to use. That he didn't come across as, what's the word? He hadn't bought into the structure, the power structure. So like, say for instance, Barack Obama, because he had an African father, his DNA structure would be different from a person who had slavery in their background, right? And so Barack Obama has a different relationship to the structure because of that not being in his DNA. Regardless of whether or not we have experienced this, it's in our lineage.
Yes.
So it has altered, that trauma has altered our DNA. And so what Elijah Muhammad said is that James Baldwin didn't talk as if he was a person who had been programmed by the system to think in a particular way. He liked the fact that he thought outside of the box. And so sometimes I think that they have done James Baldwin a disservice simply by labeling him as a civil rights activist, or a writer or poet, or however they characterize him. He was a philosopher that could rival any of these Socrates or Plato people that we read about all the time. The information that he brought to this, and the level to which he is quoted by other people, should solidify him in the importance that he has contributed to the conversation as it relates to race and culture, and these things that we don't pay attention to. And there have been so many people, especially once they have developed some notoriety or some independence of income, who have left the United States and done exactly what he did, lived in a foreign country, still having a presence here, but not being dictated by here. And that was
like still knowing the work.
Right. Right. And that was one of the reasons why I didn't want to come back from Italy. When I was over there going to school, I really didn't want to come back, but I felt pressure from my mother in particular, but my family was saying, come home.
Right. Yeah. Oh my. Right.
And
I
I
get
ended
you.
up coming home, even as I was coming home, I knew that I shouldn't have.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that I should, but I couldn't figure out how to sustain myself without putting myself in another compromising situation. So sure, there was a guy who I had met when I was in France that I could have stayed with. There was other, guys that I could have stayed with, you know, but then that would put me in a different situation, which I really, I'm not that girl. You're not going. I just can't have nobody taking care of me, dictating to me, because I'm so freaking independent like that. So I came back home because I couldn't figure out how to sustain.
I gotta grab this.
Okay. All right. So that was part of my scenario, my quest. And so in that, there's a lot of stuff. And so James Baldwin was one of those that was independent, and like so many people, you would see, whether it was Tina Turner or some other folks that went and made their living overseas, or they lived overseas and made their money here, but didn't necessarily have to fall up under anybody here in order to do it. So anyway, I'm on that kick right now. So anyway, so I want to get back to the book, because I've only got 30 minutes left, if that. I have a meeting today too, so I've got stuff to do. So anyway, we were dealing with the second level chakra. I forgot my other glasses in the other room, but I mean, these are cute, but for some reason they just seem so overpowering on me. So I take these on and off all the time. So we've been talking about the second level chakra, and the second level chakra, as I mentioned in the other day, it resonates to the partnership chakra, is about communion, and the Saphira of Yesod, I think it's pronounced. Anyway, so we've talked about it in the sense of this partnership thing, and how we deal with it, friendship, professional relationships, financial activity, all of that stuff. So it talks about honor and integrity and how those things are necessary. I read yesterday from a book called Thoughts Are Things, which is Prentice Mumford, who back in the 1800s was writing about the power of our thoughts and our receptivity and that mode. So if you missed that, that was yesterday. So we all, it says, participate in this life by divine design. So we learn so much out of our relationships and these partnerships. So moving, I'm going to move through that. We talked about it as it relates to the chakra and all that stuff, but now here's the Yesod piece. And I might be pronouncing it wrong, Yesod. And this is also about that third chakra area, but it deals with it this is out of the Kabbalah. So when we're talking about the chakras, that's one thing. Chakra system is the power centers that we get from the Eastern thought. Then when we talk about the sacraments, it is stuff like confirmation, communion, confession, all of those. That comes out of the Catholic thought. And then the Yesod is part of the Kabbalah or Jewish teachings. And each of these resonates to something in our bodies, as well as with something within the structure of the religion itself to help us to see and break down these things. So for the Safra of Yesod, it says that it embodies the second chakra or the communal energies. But the Yesod is symbolic of the phallus or the penis, however you like to. Phallus is a nice way of cleaning up the word. And it talks about this need, this it's a primal desire to procreate that animals, I won't just talk about it like it's male and female, that animals of which we are part of the animal kingdom, all of us have that desire or that urge. And that urging to plant seed and to procreate, sometimes it's not conscious that we are procreating, but we are conscious that we are doing a union, right? That union is a primal natural urge for people. And so sometimes what we see is because we have so much judgment, so much negativity that has been placed into our system around that idea, there are people who are literally in turmoil with that second chakra energy. And so because it's so misunderstood and we have been taught that somehow that it is dirty or wrong, people have had, when I talk about being stuck in a particular level of development, people have serious issues around that type of idea and thinking. And so it is something that can cause some potential issues if it's not something that you really drill down on and come to some awareness within yourself. Now, I always think that this is important because it is a necessary like graduation or a jumping off point that needs to happen in each of us to make peace with ourselves, our bodies, and our own naturalness. And so when it talks about this yesod and this desire to procreate or this desire to plant seeds, this is something that we need to not look away from. I'll say it like that again. This thing is, and it says within this is this mutual act, a natural dualism, that two forces coming together, supposedly forces of opposite energies, those come together to create something. So it's our own energies need to form sacred unions with others, right? With other human beings, unions from which continuation of life comes. So in this system, this world in which we live, this universe comes built into it its own sustaining power. There's an energy that cannot, like, it's not something that is easily suppressed nor denied. And so therefore, in spite of ourselves, in spite of all of this stuff, we see cultures, countries that try to slow down the population growth or try to put a damper on it or stamp it back. But it is a natural urge. So it's not that easy to tell people, oh, don't do this. Because just like you see animals out in the wild, it is a thing that all of us do. So it says we are spiritually driven to connect with the sacred within other people. This desire for intimacy is built into our systems. And so this is this idea that we merge, and this merger that we do is a sacred union. So, I mean, there's so much that I could talk about this. One of the things that it's so much I could talk about when it comes down to this, because I think that there's been a lot, That's one of the wonderful, amazing things. When I say that James Baldwin needs to have the label of a philosopher, one of the reasons why I say that is because so much of how we think comes out of the mind of someone. So whether we talk about capitalism or socialism, Marx or whoever it was that formulated these thought leaders create scenarios, and then they become things that are imposed or without us recognizing that they're imposed, but we start to live out structures or ways of being that was thought in the mind of somebody else. So say, for instance, Darwin came up with this idea of survival of the fittest. And then all of a sudden there was a resonance to that. When we talk about child rearing and whether or not spanking a child and what that does, that begins to change the trajectory and also change the laws when people start to interject different ways of thinking into the system. So all of these things that we do, that we participate in now, have its origins in somebody's thinking or in somebody's mind. And then you see this gradual shift in how we do things to come into alignment with what people perceive to be better. And then we create new normals around that. I always liken it to a trying to turn a ship. So say, for instance, you are a navigator and you are basically, the captain of the ship. So when you find out new I guess we put in coordinates. When you find out new coordinates, then you place that into the computer of our minds. And then there is this shifting that happens that brings from where we were to over here. And it's a slow turn, but it is a turn nonetheless. And so some ideas, some thoughts we hold up as something that we ought to put in our calculations for the coordinates of our destination. We will put those things in, and sometimes what we do is in its wake there is so much good that is left behind. So when I read people who talk about this thing of the phallus. Now let me there's this desire that I have of turning around and finding this book for you. Let's see, where is it? I don't see it right off. I'm looking, and so let me figure out where it is, and before I try to grab it off of the shelf. But when I went to Greece when I was overseas going to school. I went to Greece. That was one of the places that I visited. And everywhere I went, walking up and down the street, I would see these men. And these men would be standing there, these statues of these men, and they would be standing there with their penises pointing up at the sky. And they built statues and monuments to this. And one of the things that somebody said is that all of those were constructed during the reign of the phallus. It was when they worshiped their own penises. Let me see. I am not seeing that book. Just bear with me for a second as I'm scanning my room, because I know that it was here or in here somewhere. And I am not seeing it. I am not seeing it. Doggone it. Sometimes we get so darn organized, we organize ourselves right out of what it is that we need. Anyway, let me, so as I'm talking to you, I'm going to look this up, and Yeah. Okay, so stay with me. Okay, so here we are. And so I'm going to click on images, and so I'm going to share one of these. Okay, so anyway, here I'm going to share my screen so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so share. All right, so I'm assuming that you can see these statues. This in particular, this one right here. You see these statues, and these were all over the place on different monuments. This one is in Italy. This is David, and David is the Italians were very different when it came down to this stuff. So all of these, you were liable to walk anywhere and see stuff just like this, right? And they called it the reign of the phallus. And so you could see these things on street corners when you went someplace. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, you would see them on street corners and on postcards and all kinds of places, because it was this kind of worship of the male anatomy, whatever, right? And so in part, there has been this different people have had different impacts on thinking and the way that people thought. And so even when women tried to insert themselves into the structure because they were tired of all of the craziness and drama, the women decided, you know what we're going to do is we're going to just stop, we're going to shut it down. We're going to shut it down. And that was how Greek sex came about. The notion around Greek sex, they were like, okay, you are not going to determine, if we have sex. We can basically just figure this out on our own. So there is that dynamic. But now I mean, there's some interesting stuff around this, and I could really sit here and talk about this and kind of like drill down on it for any number of minutes or whatever. I could talk about it for a while, but so suffice it to say that this has been something people inform the way that we think in our society through sharing of these thoughts. We change the coordinates or determine where we're going to go based on what we think are best practices and ways of thinking, ways of being that come out of these conversations. And so we see that we move, we shift in consciousness and how we think, how we see people, how we engage, how we interact. And so sometimes when we go through and we talk about these things, some people and their ideas are uplifted and shared, and other people are simply not. And so this energy, this idea is a major, major thing. So yeah. And it's weird that we're having this conversation because it's Erica's birthday. It's Erica's birthday. And she was talking about earlier in the week this desire that on her birthday that she form a more perfect union. So Erica, happy birthday to you from Stephanie and me. I hope that this is that you are getting what you need or what you desire on this particular day. So I'm wishing you all the best when it comes down to your experience on this day. So now having said that, let me so it says this energy represents the need to form sacred unions with other human beings, unions from which the continuation of life comes. These unions are major and they're important. Sometimes it is just in discovering who we are, right? And so all of this stuff is part of the development of self. So we violate our own spirit when we fail to honor our vows, the unions that we create, our vows to others, and within the sacred union, how we also treat those people, how we honor or dishonor them. Those things have basically, they resonate in our spirit. They are something that matters or that has impact. And so we have to be conscious about what it is that we do and how we break vows. You know, nowadays people will send you a text message saying it's over, which is not to honor a relationship, or on a post-it note. We hear all kinds of stuff. And so when we talk about the word honor is so important in not only how we deal with others, but also in how we deal with ourselves. So it says that to be conscious about the manner, because sometimes I get it that relationships are not forever, right? Sometimes we do end them. And for whatever reason there may be, there is this need to have a conscious uncoupling, that conscious taking back of one's energy, of one's spirit out of the relationship, drawing that back to you so you can choose differently if you so desire. But all of that, how we handle that is important. So if you are one of those that, and you know what, one of the things that I say to people all the time is how you are with anyone is basically how you are with everyone. I used to be friends with a guy who people would warn me about all the time. It was, you know, they called him a snake, you know, or one of those things that you would say gorillas in the mist, right? And I would get people who would just warn me all the time, telling me this, that, and the other. And I was like, yeah, that's not my relationship, right? I would always see the highest and best and have the highest and best regard, right? For this friend, because that had never been my experience. But if, say, for instance, you know that somebody has the capacity to be disrespectful, to wantonly trifle with other people's emotions, if they can do it to anyone, they can do it to everyone, right? It is, because it becomes it's part of, how do I want to explain this? If it's already something that they have done to a person, they may have justifications about why that is so. And then when it turns on you, like it did on me, it should come as no surprise. It reminds me of the story of the scorpion and, is it a turtle? Where the scorpion wanted to get to the other side of the river, and so he got on the scorpion got on the turtle's back, and as they were going across the thing, and when they got almost there, the scorpion stung this turtle, and he was like, well, why'd you sting me? And he was like, well, you knew what I was when you gave me the ride. And so sometimes what we do is we forget people can be so beguiling, right? We can get caught up in how they present themselves to us, but it becomes part of the nature of how they are. And so they can turn on you just like they do anybody else. I'm just saying it like that. And it took me going through that experience to learn it. So so sometimes we have to be really conscious about how we show up and who we allow into our spaces, how deeply we allow them into our spaces. And I think that is one of those things that each of us, if this is your issue, it's something that really has to be dealt with. It, depending upon what you choose for yourself, right? So if I consciously want to choose how I'm flowing my energy, if I want to be have integrity and have honor, then that means that I need to shift around the things, if I've ever done shady things, but begin to shift those things so that I come into alignment with the person that I desire to be. And that's with everything. That goes across the board. It's not just in the midst of relationships and the partnerships and the vows that we make, but it resonates to everything. Who do you desire to be? How do you desire to show up? All of that stuff. It goes into all of that stuff. And so I would say to you that become conscious about the manner in which you conduct your friendships and your relationships. And that's what we learn from that Yasad, from that level of chakra. So when you have violations in that area, say for instance, you don't have honor and integrity when it comes down to dealing with people, if you are duplicitous, or if you are if there is anything that does not resonate to honor when it comes down to those types of relationships, especially your sexual unions, that has a drastic and a major impact on your life. Those things can show up as different illnesses later on in life, especially if you have used sex to manipulate people, as a tool. If you have used it against people in whatever fashion, that comes back to bite you in the butt. So there is work that you can do around that. And we'll get to that later on in this book. We'll talk about that down the line so that you can see some of the stuff that it causes and how then you can alleviate some of those causes. So now the third level chakra is the personal power chakra. Manipura is what it says in here. The sacrament of confirmation and the Saphira of Had and Neza. And this resonates to the navel. It's like right at your navel area. So if the first chakra is your anal area, second chakra, your sex organs, third chakra is your navel. And this basically is about honoring one's self. And this power that is created by the merging of all of that is about developing your self-esteem and self-respect. So this is also about your survival intuition. And so when I talk about this, it's always interesting because I think that our gut, our stomach, which is represented right here in this chakra, is one of those that all of us are conscious and aware about. And we feel it because it will crop up when there are issues that come up. When you think about gut instinct, you know that for many of us, you get butterflies in your stomach, or your stomach will tell you. I am so conscious of when my stomach even begins to gurgle, because I have to ask myself, what am I talking about? Or what am I doing? Or what am I thinking about when it begins to start to act up? That it may be trying to speak to me in some kind of way, either as the amen section or girl, you better back up. So to to be aware of that, to bring your attention into that third chakra area that we call our gut, our stomach, right? Is to be aware of forces that may be trying to speak to you and say something to you, of which you may not be aware. So, so when you violate this energy, right, it's as if you are not showing respect for yourself or for the information that is shared. So say for instance, you get a gut feeling that you shouldn't do this, or you shouldn't say something, or it's warning you. It becomes a warning sign. It's saying don't go forward. But when you continuously violate that, when you continue to not listen, what it is you disempower yourself. So all of us need to recognize that our bodies is these wonderfully designed machines. I mean, better than a machine, right? These wonderful machines that we are gifted with are here to tell us something about ourselves if we have the will to listen. So when you are able to listen and honor and respect that, it has some awesome. Sometimes I used to get butterflies in my stomach and I would have to stop and say, oh, what is this about? Because sometimes I didn't even know what it was about. And then all of a sudden, it may be that, oh, I had totally forgotten about that I was supposed to be at a certain place at a certain time. Or and the funny thing is that my body can tell me this stuff, the stuff that my mind doesn't remember. It's as if I get the message or the cue in my body. And so when I start asking the questions about why am I feeling this, or what's this sensation about, all of a sudden it's like, whoa, oh, okay, this is what I must do. This is something that was, that was important. Sometimes it is, sometimes it could be something I'm about to miss. Sometimes it is, yeah, don't sit that there, right? I get that feeling. Or, yeah, you don't need to go, right? Or this person is not who they say they are. I feel all of those things in my gut area. I don't know about you, but that's a viable communication option. So I'm really excited to kind of delve into this and drill down on it a little bit, because when it comes down to the Kabbalic teachings, Kabbalah, there is two different regions that resonate in that area, and so we will talk about that too. And but that will be tomorrow. Tomorrow is Sunday, and on Sundays I'm on here twice, which I'm Sundays and Tuesdays usually. I am doing like my Facebook lives twice in the course of a day. But tomorrow, I will be talking a little bit more about the Had and Yat Naza Safaras, and we will get into this idea of confirmation too. Confirmation resonates to the need to confirm. Confirmation is confirmation. So it is something that rites of passage is a good example of that. That ceremonial piece that signifies a shift in responsibility and thinking in our lives. And so sometimes that having that confirmation is a major thing. And when we don't have it, sometimes we get stuck too. Or until we actually confirm ourselves, we have those moments of stuckness. So We'll get into that tomorrow. For now, I am going to give thank you for being here, for watching. I'm thanking Stephanie for showing up. I'm thanking each and every one of y'all. Erica, happy birthday to you. I know that you are probably not listening because you didn't respond to my first happy birthday. So I will make sure that I put that in there. You know, that's one of the things that I always say about birthdays. And that is why I took responsibility of my birthday, because you can't always count on people to have it present at mind. And so in order for you not to be disappointed, it's easier to say, it's my birthday, than to sit there and say, why ain't she remember that it's my birthday? Because we don't always. So anyway, so I thank you for being here. I am going to send you off with this, with the reminder that the light of God surrounds you, and the love of God, it always enfolds you. The power of God protects you, and the presence of God, it is always watching over you, because wherever you are, all of God is, and all is well. I thank you again. And yeah, just looking forward to how we continue this journey together. All right. So I shall see you tomorrow. God willing, and the creek don't rise. All right. Have a great, great, fabulous day. See ya.